Okay, now on to episode 5. We get to know who these 2 boys are that are holding Joel and Ellie at gunpoint. Basically, it starts off with this older boy and then this younger boy. And the older one is Henry, the younger one is Sam. And they're holed up in this attic with the same doctor that was in the previous episode that Kathleen was holding hostage. And it turns out that Henry is a collaborator, so he would tell Fedra information from other people, and then in return he would get supplies or whatever he needed. After the doctor leaves, a couple days go by, and they run out of supplies completely. They run out of food. They run out of everything. So then they have to leave that area that they were in. And so they're walking around town. Oh, also, side note, the little boy Sam is deaf. So this whole intro part is just them signing to each other. And yeah, I'm assuming that he's completely deaf because he doesn't really, flinch or anything whenever there's like loud explosions or gunshots or anything. Any loud noises don't really affect him. And
was he deaf in the game?
No,
he wasn't. Yeah.
So in the game, like, Sam isn't deaf at all, and so adding that part in made it so much more harder and like sad to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
And the actor was deaf too, so I think that's really
so cute. I saw that little interview with him, and I was like, oh! Like, he's just so cute. And then his little giggle. Anyway, so so then Henry and Sam are trying to find their way out of the city, and they hear a huge crash, and it shows Joel and Ellie from a different point of view, from Henry and Sam's point of view, where it's like the shootout where they crash the truck, and then it's Joel like murdering all those people. And so then they see that unfold, and then they keep going.
They're in the same building as Joel and Ellie, who are sleeping, and they find the trail of glass that Joel had put out to make sure no one comes and they can hear him before they they like attack them.
Yeah.
And so that's when they find them, and that's when you cut to Henry and Sam holding the guns at Joel and Ellie, but then you find out the guns aren't even actually loaded.
They don't have any ammo.
No, there's no ammo. And that they're just scared kids. Like, we don't know how old Henry is, but I think he's like 19 or 20 or something. Like,
he's pretty young.
He's older than Sam, obviously. Sam is 8. And they decide to team up, and Henry tells Joel, like, yeah, I'm a collaborator, and Joel's like, oh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But they team up to leave the city together and kind of just stay together as a group. Because Henry and Sam are pretty much defenseless. They can't defend themselves at all.
Yeah.
And so they're going... Henry knows the way out of the city and it's like we're going to go underground.
Like through the tunnel systems or something.
And down to the river, and so they're kind of leading the way.
Oh, and he also reveals the thing about the no infected.
That's what he says.
Yes, there's no infected down below.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
Because they've all been,
Sounds like a trick or something, like he wants them to die.
Yeah, so like they sacrifice themselves so they can get out or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. So he explains that there's no infected. They've all been, like, Fedra pushed all of them underground or something like that. So
yeah, just kind of contained them.
Yeah.
And so while they're on their little journey, Sam and Ellie kind of bond, and like, Ellie really hasn't had a friend like this, and Sam probably never has had a friend like this too, and so they're bonding.
So honestly, yeah, they make their way through all the tunnels like unscathed.
Oh,
and then they're walking out. So they finally get out from underground, and they're walking on this street that's leading out of the of Kansas City. And
but then they get shot at, and then he's like,
yeah.
And Joel's like gonna take out the sniper himself, so he sneaks around into the building while they're getting shot at, and then
it turns out it's just like an old man.
Yeah, it's an old guy with a sniper. And then Joel has his gun out. He says, "Don't do it." And then the guy turns his gun, but he shoots him before he can shoot.
Yeah. And also, that old guy works with Kathleen, because then we hear on the radio, it's like, oh, we're on our way. And Joel's like, well, shit. And so, because they're all still down there. Ellie, Henry, and Sam are all still down there while Joel's up in the building. And all of a sudden we hear Kathleen's,
Brigade.
Giant truck or like something.
Brigade, yeah. Joel snipes the driver of the truck, and then the truck runs into this building and then starts on fire. And so then
Kathleen's like, come out,
yeah.
Henry.
You can talk about that.
He's like telling Sam it's gonna be okay, and then he goes out, And Kathleen wants him to turn himself in.
She wanted to avenge her brother by killing Henry and Sam, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Ellie, because she knew that there was these two people that had gotten into their city and like were killing people.
Yeah.
And so as they're about to like shoot Henry and Sam and Ellie, the ground like caves in where the truck was, and then there's like silence. Everyone's kind of looking at this giant hole in the ground.
And then you hear the clickers and the runners and like all the croaking noises, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what's about to happen. And then all of a sudden they all shoot up from this hole in the ground, and it's like, how many? Like
hundreds.
Over 100 or more.
Yeah, because I mean, if all of the infected were ushered down into underground, that's like thousands of people. If it's a huge city like Kansas City. Kathleen's group is all being attacked, and then Ellie and Sam and Henry get separated somehow.
She ends up in a car.
Yeah. We can talk about that.
Oh, yeah,
the little
Ellie does.
clicker.
Like a girl clicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
But she's
her.
tiny. Like, how old do you think she is?
Like 10 or 9.
Yeah.
I was thinking even, like, because she's, like, really small.
Maybe Sam's age, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
She can't get out because, like, the door's locked or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. What are you going to say about that?
scary.
Yeah. So there's this little clicker girl, and she's crawling through the car that Ellie is in, and Joel is kind of defenseless because he can't see into the car where Ellie is, and but after she gets out of the car, Joel is sniping literally every single zombie that is in Ellie's way, and then we see Big Boy come into the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giant bloater comes in, and a bloater, I don't know how they form, but they're just like a giant, like...
They've just been infected for years.
Yeah, just a big runner / clicker thingy, whatever. Its whole body is like no longer human.
How we described the head of the clicker, that's basically their entire body now.
It's just like mushrooms,
it's just armor.
And fungi. Yeah.
It's basically armor.
Yeah, shoot it, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so it's coming forward, like whacking everybody in its path. It even whacks like Kathleen's right-hand man.
Yeah, rips his head off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. Forgot about that.
He literally decapitates him so easily. And, like, he literally unloads, like, a full clip into him, and no effect. Mm-hmm. Nothing changes. And he's just on a warpath. Like, he's not even trying to infect people. He's just trying to kill them. Sam and Ellie and Henry all run together to try to escape, like, the chaos that's happening. This little clicker girl, the same one that was in the car with Ellie, she jumps onto Kathleen and just starts, like, punching her. I thought it was really funny because she just started beating her up before she bit her. And so, yeah, she ends up getting bit, and then they end up escaping.
It takes forever, though. They're like, waiting. Like...
Oh, yeah, they're just watching Kathleen getting beat up, and they're just like... And then Joel comes and, like, gets all of them, and they escape together.
They're all safe, and they're, like, holding up in this little motel that's nearby, and they're just kind of talking, like, Henry and Joel are talking, and then in the next room over, Sam and Ellie are talking, and Sam communicates on this little, like...
Etch-a-sketch.
Yeah, etch-a-sketch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as they're talking, he reveals to Ellie he's been bitten. Like, he lifts up his pants leg and he's been bitten. And so she kind of starts to freak out. But then she, like, cuts herself and then smears her blood in his leg. And she's like, my blood can heal you.
My blood is medicine or something.
My blood is medicine, yeah. And they hug it out, and she's like, I'm going to stay here with you. We'll stay up all night long.
Oh, and then he says some, like, really cute, like, sad quote about,
myself.
like, yeah, am I still going to be... Or, like... When you're a monster, are you still you? Or something like that. And it's so sad.
Yeah. And so the next morning, they...
She fell asleep.
Yeah, she fell asleep. She led him. She fell asleep. And she looks over, and he's on the corner of his bed, kind of just, like, hunched over, talking to himself or mumbling or whatever he's doing. And she kind of goes to touch him, and he, like, turns around. He's obviously infected at this point. And that's when he starts to attack her. And then, Ellie's screams are heard by Joel and Henry, and so they burst in, and that's when Henry sees his brother has been infected. But then Henry goes and shoots him. Yeah. And then Henry kind of panics and's like, what have I done? And he's like shaking, he sees Sam's blood like pooling out. And so then Henry just, like, loses all, like, sense of, like, reality and, like, shoots himself. And then you cut to Joel and Ellie, and they're, like, burying Henry and Sam, and Ellie writes on his little Etch-a-Sketch and puts "I'm sorry," and then they leave.
Yeah.
But they're all, like, obviously shaken from this experience because they had some connection.
Yeah, because also whenever they were all walking together, they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys can come with us," because they didn't know their plan after they escaped not the QZ. Well, I guess it was the QZ, but that group. They were like, "Oh yeah, you guys can come with us," and that didn't happen.
Nope.
So yeah, that wraps up episode 5. Really sad ending. I mean, everything is so sad in this show. I just, like, whenever you feel connected to a character, like, it's just, they might be ripped away from you at any moment. So you just gotta keep that in mind. But
Like The Walking Dead.
yeah, like The Walking Dead. So yeah, that wraps up episode 5. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed our recap of episode 5. Now, I will be giving all of my opinions about my favorite scene, my least favorite scene, and one thing I would change. So yeah, let's get into it. So I would have to say my favorite scene is when the fiery truck falls down into the hole where all the infected had been pushed down. It was just, it was such a good scene. I love seeing the scenes where the zombies rise up against the humans. It's just really satisfying to me, especially considering that Kathleen's group was gonna kill every character that we liked. So yeah, really satisfying scene. And also, honorable mention to the big boy, Bloater. When I saw him, I literally audibly gasped, because he was so scary, and he ripped off Perry's head, no problem, decapitated him completely. So yeah, that was my favorite, which some people might find kind of weird that that's my favorite scene, but I just think it was such a great, like, representation of how powerful these zombies are in actuality. So yeah, that's my favorite scene. My least favorite scene is when Sam gets infected and is attacking Ellie, and Henry has to shoot his brother off of Ellie. It's just such a sad scene, so devastating, especially for two characters I wouldn't have minded to stick around for a while. I mean, they were super likable, super nice people, and they were even discussing about going to Wyoming together with Joel and Ellie. So it was just so sad. It was a very sad scene. One thing I would change here. Oh yeah, so I was wondering this whenever I saw the first few minutes of this episode. I want to know how the rebels rose up against Fedra, because Fedra isn't the easiest group to rise up against, especially being military. I would have liked to see how exactly they rose up against them and what their tactics were, because you don't see that every day. I mean, usually with the QZs, Fedra, they are completely in control and don't allow any shenanigans. So, yeah, I would have liked to see that. So that wraps it up for episode 5. Bye! Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hayes Review. Class is in session. So, I bet you're wondering what this is. It is a tier list. I will be ranking my favorite characters from episode 5 from my least favorite to my favorite. So I will be going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And a special honorable mention. I won't be getting there till the end, though. You'll have to stick around. So here we go. Ranking at number 5. We have the little clicker girl. I love her in this episode. She's so scary and disturbing. Like, I guess in most scenarios of this show, you don't think about the little kids turning into the infected. But I mean, in reality, they'd probably be the easiest prey because they're weak and don't really know how to fight off full-grown people trying to bite them. So, you know, I just thought it was really interesting to see her. And it's obvious she had been infected a while with all of the cordyceps growing out of her brain. But yeah, I just liked her because, again, we're getting introduced to another zombie that is scary and disturbing, and I love it. So she's number 5. Oh, and also she takes out our girl Kathleen, which I appreciate about her. So here we go, on to 4. Number 4, we have Henry. So Henry is the brother of Sam, who is the little boy that we meet. We meet him and Sam as they're holding Ellie and Joel at gunpoint, but not really because their guns are not loaded, but he's just trying to get his brother to safety. And while he was a collaborator with Fedra, it's understandable because Sam got leukemia and he was doing that to get his medicine for him. But I like him as a character. I think he's solid. He has good intentions. And at the end, he was going to sacrifice himself for not only Sam, but Joel and Ellie as well. So I thought that was really brave of him to do. So yeah, he's number 4. And he does something at the end that no brother should ever have to do. But yeah, he's number 4. Number 3, we have little Sammy boy. He is so precious, so adorable, and I like the contrast from the game to the show, because in the game he was not deaf, but him being deaf in the show just made it so much like you just wanted to protect him. You wanted to protect him the entire time. And it was so sad that Henry and Joel and Ellie could not do that for him because he is such a precious little boy. And I just love him so much. And he wasn't damaged from this world. He was still so pure. So it was very sad to see the end of this episode. But yeah, he's my number 3. So number 2, we have Ellie. So Ellie really held her own this episode and, you know, was super, super nice to Henry and Sam and was just an all-around good person this episode and made sure that everyone was safe, safe enough, you know what I mean. And yeah, I just think it was really cute to see her and Sam connect in so many different ways. And I really liked the start of their friendship along with Henry and Joel. But yeah, again, so sad about them, about Henry and Sam. But yeah, Ellie did a really good job. She somehow navigated around all these infected, but we'll find out who also helped her with that. So number 1, we have Joel. Joel was a badass this episode. He, you know, sniped all of those infected to make sure Ellie wasn't going to be ripped apart and, you know, travel down in these sewer systems with Henry and Sam and Ellie. And he was just the dad of the group. You know, like he acts like he's not a dad anymore, but he totally is. He is Ellie's dad completely. And also, he has 2 adopted sons in that episode, too, that he needed to keep safe. And he did do that. He did keep them safe. To the best of his ability, of course. And, you know, he's a good character, solid character. And I really liked him in this episode. I think he did a fantastic job. He defended them as well as he could. And he's a hell of a shot, which I guess... I mean, I knew he was a good shot, but I mean, from a sniper point of view, wow, he was really getting it. So yeah, he's my number 1. Now, honorable mention. Here we go. So, this big boy, Mr. Bloater here. He's so very scary. Whenever I saw him climbing out of that hole, out of the infected hole, I literally got goosebumps. He is just so menacing, and he has this bellowing voice that just carries, and you know when he's coming because he's huge. Like, I know you can't see in this photo, but he has this almost suit of armor made out of these cordyceps, and it's so terrifying, and he literally rips off Perry's head like it's a grape from the vine. Like, it's so intense and so insane, and I love it. I love it so much. Like, he's so terrifying and horrifying, and such a great representation of what's about to come. Because I know from the game logic, I think he would have been infected for 5 to 10 years, I believe. So, yeah. Scary ass dude. But yeah, so that wraps up episode 5. Thanks. Bye.